So we were just talking about how good you are at keeping living things alive that are not plants.
Yeah, plants don't count, but I can keep an animal or a human alive.
For those that don't know, this plant is real. He is alive and well. The guy up there you can't really see, but he's alive. These are fake. But Brittany, my good friend, and kind of client still.
Yeah.
Brittany is a mom of 3, and they're beautiful, amazing young ladies. They're how old are they all? 5,
6, and 8.
Yeah, and 6 is almost about to turn 7.
No.
Sloan.
8 is about to turn 9.
8 is about to turn 9.
Yes.
Yes. So Eden, Sloan, and Quinn. And I wanted you to come on the podcast for multiple reasons. Obviously, like you're a friend that I've wanted to have on the podcast to just talk about things that I think you are very eloquent at and have wisdom to share, but also with recent events. So tell listeners about what has been going on in your life recently with Eden.
Well, August 22nd, my youngest daughter, who just turned 5, was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And so she has started the long road to recovery for that. She is currently undergoing chemotherapy weekly and will be for quite some time.
Yeah, like probably the next 6 months at minimum, right?
So it'll be at least weekly or more. Like right now we're doing 4 times a week, and it'll stay at that rate for about 6 months. And then after 6 months, if she's been in remission long enough, then she can transfer down to doing like every other week or something like that. But she'll receive chemo at least twice a month for about 2 years.
Damn.
No matter how good the prognosis is or is not.
Yeah. She's going through a lot, and you are too. And you've gone through a lot in your life in general. And it's been kind of like your identity almost, which is hard to accept and just like continue to just like live through. So tell me how like that has created who you are. Just however you want to answer that.
I think that when people think about life, they think about like, yeah, I've had hard times and like parts of my life have been difficult, but I made it through it. And it kind of just feels a little bit more like life was really hard and I had some good blips in there, which is a little different than the average person. When you kind of come to be known as like resilient or the strong friend or like the person that everybody goes to because they know that you know how to handle things because of the things you go to.
So they almost give you more.
Yes, like everybody's like, she can do it, so just keep on bringing it. And in a lot of ways it's true. Like I am the person that can show up in ways that other people struggle to sometimes when things are difficult because I am so used to it. But other days you're like, damn, I don't want to be known as resilient. I'm tired.
Can everyone just like forget that that's who I am?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you changed how you have wanted to take people's, like how you've wanted that to be portrayed in terms of like with your friendships? How have you changed how you've communicated over the last couple years with just like helping others see you the way you really want to be seen? Because I think that's part of what's difficult with when you are the kind of person that you are that is seen that way. But like in order for you to live your best life and live your truth and be happy and not just be like pleasing everybody else around you, you have to like demand that. But demand it in a way that's like gonna make sense for other people too.
Yeah, and in a way that people want to participate in giving you that.
Yeah.
Because when you're just demanding like, well, I deserve these things because hard things happen to me. That's when people are like, well, no, that's not how that works. You know,
Yeah.
So you have to also present it in a way that like makes people want to have empathy and understanding rather than just like, give me this thing.
Yeah.
So I think for a long time, I was in a place where it was like that my only value is showing up, because like I can do things other people can't do. I can keep going and going and going, and I can run myself into the ground better than anyone else, and I can show up for everyone all the time, and I can make everybody happy. Like, I am a person that can do that. But it does come at a really great cost to me. I've had
Yeah.
a lot of chronic health issues because of it. I've had a lot of mental health issues because of it. I have a personality disorder that I'll have my entire life, that I've always had. And so I had to eventually find a way to express to people that like invisible disabilities are still disabilities,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm autistic, I have borderline personality disorder. Those are categorized as disabilities. Like, once I finally sat down and was like, hey, like, I can't do this. Like, I want to be there for you, and I will always love you and support you, and I can show up in a lot of ways, but I need, if you need me to do that, I need you to manage me this way.
Hmm.
Like, I need support. I need people to check on me. I need people to ask about my needs. I need people to be mindful that like I need assistance. And it took me a really long time to get to a place where I was comfortable asking other people for other things, because
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in a way where my needs were met ever. Like, if my needs were met, it's because I met them, or I just watched it and pretended like I didn't have them.
Yeah. Where
So,
you start believing when people giving you, the feedback of like, you don't deserve this, you start believing them. I think, especially when you're young
mhm.
or you're in a situation where you depend on someone, like whether it's parents or a significant other or something like that.
There's also a layer of like, how much am I going to be punished if I ask for something?
Mm.
Right? Like, even if you don't necessarily think that you deserve like a negative thing,
Hmm.
knowing that a positive is going to leave somebody being punitive to you also is very dissuading. It's very much
Yeah.
like, it's not worth it. Like, I can get this need met, but like, at what cost?
Yeah. Yeah.
So finding people that didn't feel punitive was the first step. Like, finding people in my life that like, when I did finally get comfortable enough to like ask like, hey, can I have some help? Can I have some support? Can you be there for me? Can I have help with the kids? Can I have, can I vent to you? Or even
Hmm.
like, with my personality disorder, sometimes I struggle to understand what's real and not real. Just having people that I can be like, is this in my head or is this what it is?
Yeah.
That I can rely on to not be angry at me or judgmental, or, to just give me the space to like have those feelings and be like, I just need to air this out,
Yeah.
because I didn't have space for that for a really long time. I mean, even when we met, like, I never complained about anything. I never,
Yeah.
I never complained. I never asked for anything. It was just like, you can load me up with tasks and I can do and do and do and do and do. And I'm just like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I've learned just not only from coaching you when we were more actively coaching, but also like just in coaching in general of you can give someone so many things and like they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, coach is giving me this. Like I got this. I got this." And then it's like over time some people like they do get like those things adding up do get make them stronger and they
Mm-hmm.
like can take on more and more and more and that's great, but not everyone has that capacity, or at least they don't have that capacity as fast as they think they will.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a client recently talk about like, I know stress is an issue for me. I know I have stress management, like all of these stress management tools, but like lately I feel like I'm just stressing about the stress and stressing about all of the management
And
tools.
stressing about the managing of the stress.
Yeah.
And now the managing of the stress has become an extra
Yeah.
stressor, and then it becomes work
Yeah.
that you don't want it to be.
Yeah. I know that that was a big thing for you at a certain point when you were going through some of your more like internal health
Yeah.
issues with like gut and autoimmune. What kind of made you finally decide that you needed to like let go? Because I remember there was a specific point, a turning point where you were like, I'm just not going to track anymore, or I'm
Yeah.
just not going to check in anymore. And like a lot of coaches or people might hear that and be like, that's just someone who doesn't want to work hard.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they just don't want to be accountable, but it's not that always.
I think that, well, one, like, I remember just waking up one day and being like, this is not helping me at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dreading check-ins. I'm dreading weighing my food. I'm dreading all these things. But I also knew that you and Sonia, who was my
Mhm.
other coach at the time, and even David, who like steps in and helps from time to time, I know that all of you had the confidence in me and my abilities and my understanding of my body and my protocols and everything. I knew that I could do it on my own.
Mhm.
Like I knew that like coaching is always like an added bonus, but I also knew that with what I was doing right then, like you all believed in me.
Yeah.
You all trust me with my food. Y'all have never micromanaged my food. Y'all have never micromanaged my training. Y'all have, and that doesn't mean that you never watch training videos or you never anything like that, but you're never worried like I'm going to go in there and I'm not going to try. You're
Yeah.
never worried that with food I'm going to binge eat or, you know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
anything like that. Y'all have always given me so much trust and faith that I was able to have that faith in myself that like, no, I know my body, I know my mind, and I know I need to step back right now.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I still stuck to everything. I still trained, I still ate like a bodybuilder, I still took my supplements that I needed to take, but not every single one in my
Yeah.
150 pills I was taking, and I
Yeah.
didn't spend 2 hours filling out check ins the night before check ins. And it just took so much stress off of me. Like the last little bit of inflammation I had on my body from my autoimmune disorders was gone. My lab work started improving. My mood started improving. My hair started improving.
All while filling your body with toxic ink too.
Yeah. While putting it under so much physical stress and like still just
toxic but beautiful ink, like
just
obviously.
yeah, just like like my physique kept getting better and better and better, and I felt
Mhm.
better, like weighed down. And
Mhm.
then come back, I'm ready to do the thing. And I think now
Mhm.
the goal that I had in bodybuilding, which was growing again, because I had spent so many years having to do health phases
Mhm.
and everything for that, I was like, I think I'm ready to do it. And then we did, and it worked. It worked like a charm the first
Yeah.
time around. There were no issues at all. And I think it's because I learned myself well enough to know like you can trust yourself.
Yeah.
Just
Well, and I think it was the trust. That trust is a huge thing. Is like just learning that you can trust yourself on your own, with or without a coach, or with a coach's guidance being like different than maybe you've had before.
yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of athletes get kind of scared of, is they or just like anyone with any kind of guide or mentor, they're afraid to let go of that tight leash. And I see this a lot especially with people that have kind of disordered eating habits or eating
Mm-hmm.
disorders, is that they need that structure and that accountability,
Yeah.
because if they don't have it, it's either that or the extreme, just, or I'm just like, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And you finding in yourself that like, I never really worried about that with you, but it was still something that's like, you know, you were probably one of the hardest cases I think like Sonia or David had ever had functional wise.
Probably still.
Yeah. And but then like watching you kind of just like come away from that, let go, and also just like start living more for yourself in other ways in your life,
Yeah.
deciding to be, make a change in your relationship, like in your marriage, and deciding to like stand up for yourself more, not only in relationships but in your friendships, and then going back to understanding your disorders
Yeah.
and speaking up for yourself in a way that like it obvious like it makes people uncomfortable,
Yeah.
like there's no other way to put that.
That's something I've always been very good at, like not making people uncomfortable in a way like I'm being hurtful or harmful, but being willing to say things that are not comfortable for the sake of progress.
Yeah,
I am
exactly.
okay telling people how they make me feel, and I am okay advocating for my needs. I'm okay saying like, "Hey, I'm disabled. I can't do this thing."
Yeah.
Like you can tell me I can do this thing, but that doesn't make me capable, and I know the ramifications better than anyone else. Like I've lived that. I've lived the illnesses that it left me with. And so like being able to advocate for myself and others in that way and just be like, yeah, sometimes people have to be uncomfortable and I don't have to be palatable all the time to be worthwhile or to be worth being around or anything else, was really a really hard step for me to take, because I lived so long under the umbrella of like, if I'm not palatable all the time, everyone is going to abandon me.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people did, and that's okay. But like the people that I cared about not doing it didn't.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, I think people, disorder or not, have a really hard time standing up for themselves and advocating for themselves in relationships and friendships. And it's funny, if you really think about it, they're so afraid of, displeasing people or making themselves unpalatable or making, themselves feel like too big or too loud or whatever. When in reality, it's like, why are we afraid of that?
Yeah.
Because do you really want to live your whole life or a huge portion of your life for people that only want you a certain way?
Yeah. That people who only want the idealized version of you.
Yeah.
They don't want you as you, because that doesn't make them feel good. They want the you of you being your best all the time, which doesn't
Yeah.
exist. I tell people all the time that, because I do have a lot of people that reach out to me that have like BPD, things like that, like I do, that are like, I don't understand how you just say it. Like, you tell people you have BPD, like you publicly tell people, and like I feel shame over it. And I'm like,
well, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna have it till the day I die.
Yeah.
It's a brain injury.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. I can't medicate for it. I can't do anything for it. So I can either tell the people that I care about, that I want to be around, what's going to happen and what to expect, so that they can make a conscious decision to either work through that with me or not, which is okay either way.
Yeah.
Or I can be miserable all the time and exploding all the time, and that's worse. That's nobody wants to be around that more than the alternative, right?
No.
So I tell a lot of people all the time with varying mental health issues, when they come in and talk to me about like how to show up that way, I'm like, other people's discomfort with the things you have to say is not yours to carry. That's not your job.
Yeah.
People will be uncomfortable. We're meant to be uncomfortable. That's where the greatest growth and change come from. Period.
Yeah.
In anything, physically, mentally, all of that growth comes from being uncomfortable. So you only need to carry the weight of your own.
Yeah.
And work through your own discomforts. Anything anybody else feels is their responsibility. You can be caring and empathetic to it, but that's not your burden.
Yeah.
And
you can see things from someone else's perspective. Like, you might see something from, a friend's perspective who like just doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And maybe they need more time, or they need more space to understand what it is you're saying or going through.
And sometimes you got to go at it a couple of times with different wording or different something to try to help them understand. It's okay to stick around and figure that out together.
Mm-hmm. But if you just, if you keep showing up as you and get asking for what you feel like you really know you deserve, and they just keep just like pushing it down and pushing it away and just like asking you to be different, that's where it's like, well, this relationship just isn't worth my time and my energy and my my mental health too.
Yeah, it's clear like something doesn't mesh or click, and that's neither you nor my fault at this point, and it's just not worth the emotional energy that either one of us are trying to put into it.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people are afraid of what changing by simply just, when you understand yourself more, you're afraid of how other people will view that change, even though it's like, it's a good thing you understand yourself more. It's a positive thing. It's part of personal growth. We can't grow and evolve without self-awareness. And I think when there's like radical change, like, all of a sudden, if someone thinks like all of a sudden Brittany is just like telling me she's someone different, it's like, no, that wasn't sudden. It might feel sudden because it's happening. You're acting as if it's happening to you, but it's not sudden because you've been doing all of this work to figure that out. And now you're finally ready to like step into the next chapter of your life and these relationships and figure out like who's staying and who's going.
Yep.
And like who's along for the ride and who's gonna like kind of change a little bit in like how we relate to each other. And that's another thing I think people have a hard time with, is like relationships changing and evolving, because as people change, obviously relationships are going to change. And it's like, sometimes it's us changing within like our jobs, our inner work, healing, whatever. Sometimes it's just like moving away, or just like getting new responsibilities. You having to now have this whole extra thing in your life of having a daughter with cancer.
Yeah.
Like, no one should expect you to show up for them like you might have showed up for them 2 months ago before you knew about all this, right? And anyone who would expect that, it just like doesn't really like understand how the world works.
Yeah, for sure. That's something I've always appreciated about our friendship specifically, is that we both have undergone so much growth and change since we've met each other. And there's never been a lack of support or a like, well, I'm not willing to try to figure this out with you.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there's times where it's like, hey, I've got a little bit less than usual, but I'm here if you need me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always been a great respect for like when we establish that boundary of like, I need you to only come if you need this right now because I've got this going. Mm-hmm. And it's been on both parts at any given time. Like I'm there if you need me, and that real self-awareness to what a need actually is.
Yeah. And just like that. And also the fact that like, it's about clarity always.
Yeah.
Like just being really clear with a person about like your needs, but also just expectations.
Yep.
And I think
good
that's
boundaries.
Yeah,
for
boundaries.
Sure.
I think that's a big thing in like, especially friend groups or friends that have been friends for a long time is like, you know, people get comfortable with certain ways that certain things are. Yeah. And so then there's that comfort. So then there's expectations. Mm-hmm. And so when there's unspoken expectations, there that eventually leads to like, those are really just premeditated like resentments.
Yep.
And so like, I don't want anyone to resent me for something that like I could have headed off from the beginning by just like being more clear. Yep. Yeah. And so like the foundation of a really solid relationship or friendship that's going to continue to evolve as both people individually evolve is communication and just being super, super clear.
Yeah. And that's something I really love about you. I've always felt like you're a good, solid communicator, because that's something that I don't struggle with communicating, but I struggle when others can't communicate to me very well. Yeah. Like if there's a lot of like
reading between the lines.
Yes, I'm not good at that. I'm not in any way, like not even just like negative ways, but like subtle jokes. And so I'm like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
Can you just say it? You
Can
know,
just say what you mean? Yeah.
And so like I really love that like you're a really good communicator, really clear communicator. And I never have to like I've said uncomfortable things to you before, even about our own friendship, where I'm like, this is something that I worry about. And I don't necessarily think it's your fault, but you know, I have BPD and this is how BPD makes me think. Mm-hmm. And this is the lens that I see things through. And you being like, nope, that's not a thing. That's not how I feel. It's not going to be like that. You just keep doing this. I'll keep doing this. And we're great. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's good, clear instructions. And that's what I need. You know, from anyone, whether it's a romantic partner or a friend or like, you know, even in like the medical field, like dealing with Eden's things, just going in and being like, I need you to like, don't talk to me like a layman. I need you to explain to me exactly what's happening. Yeah. Just communicate it as clearly as possibly. Like, I promise you I can take it. I promise you I'm going to retain it and understand it. Just like say it the way it needs to be said. Yeah. And so many people struggle with that because they're so used to trying to deal with the everyday person who's just like, please give me as little bit as possible because I just don't want to process.
Yeah. I think that's what it is they don't want to process it and like really think about it and learn and understand. They just want to like, I just want to know, like, they want people to tell them how to think.
Yes.
And like, I don't know. I just don't want someone to tell me how to think.
No, I'm actually super resistant if people do that. The more people tell me how I'm supposed to feel, how I'm supposed to think, how I'm supposed to, and you know that because I tell you that about like people that I see online or something, and like we'll have conversations about things where I'm just like, I just don't vibe with that. And like they're probably a super amazing human being, and I really appreciate that like they can have that mindset. But if you try to tell me to feel like that, I'm like, nah, dog, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, they want like people mean well, but if you're telling someone like, well, you should do this, you have to do this, or you have to think this way, or don't think about it this way, it's like it kind of brings up a wall for people who value that clearer communication and makes it really difficult to like trust that person that's telling you how to think and how to feel. Because in order for there to be a trust, like you have to know that there's empathy and there's understanding about like how you might perceive something and how you might think about things. So like using like tone is it's important with communication, but like even more important is just the words that you say.
And also, how much can you value my opinion if you think that that opinion is the only one that is acceptable?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, how can I look at you as a human being and think like this person is going to understand me and they're going to care and they're really going to try to figure it out? Yeah. If like, you're like, no, if you don't feel this way, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because like when you have BPD, like feelings are unpredictable.
Mhm.
But I also understand that feelings are just feelings. Like, feelings aren't facts, you
Yeah.
know? So, like, when you have someone telling you, like, be this way, do that way, and you're like, can't, big dog, I'm missing like 20% of this part of my brain. Like, it don't work like that. There's
Yeah.
nothing I can do about it, but like, I can talk it out with you. I can tell you this is how I feel, but then, like, you know, the logic can come after if you
Yeah.
just let me get there. And so having people like the close friends that I have at this point in my corner, especially because I now have friends with BPD that are like, oh my God, I do that thing too. I do that thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not as crazy as I thought. You know, it
Yeah.
helps. And it took me so long to find people that I felt I could connect with like that I could just really be 100% of myself. And that was okay, because like, I can be a lot. And I don't think that's always a bad thing, because like, as much as a lot can be bad things, like, I can be a little more obnoxious than I mean to, or a little more insistent or whatever. It also means a lot of really good things. It means that when I love you more than anyone else will ever love you, because there's no cap when you have borderline. Like, all of everything you feel is like so big,
intense.
which means that I have this unending amount of like care to give to the people that I love. So like, I can show up in ways that other people can't. I can clearly articulate my feelings better than a lot of people, and really just make people feel special and understood and heard, because I have those capabilities. It's like, a lot isn't always a bad thing, but I had to find people that were okay with a lot. That were okay, like, I can be kind of loud. I'm autistic. I don't have good like sound regulation sometimes. You know?
You're doing really well right now. You haven't like maxed out the microphone, so that's good.
I'm really trying my best. I'm trying to be conscientious. But, you know, like, you have to find people that are like, yeah, it's okay that you're like that sometimes, because like, I appreciate all of it.
Yeah.
And that's hard to find.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's hard too, because like a lot of people, they don't understand how to set boundaries for themselves with someone, with a friend that's like you.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, or with just anybody, honestly.
Yeah, because I feel like even if you're the palatable friend, like, people still struggle to just say like, hey, this is it. Like, I need this to change, or like, maybe could we do this a little differently, or like, could you back off of this thing?
Yeah.
And what's ironic is like, when you have a friend like me, I'm the first person to be like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, because I want my feelings and things to be respected. So like, I'm the first person that if you're like, I need this to change, I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, I think if anyone were to take away like advice, I feel like from this episode specifically, I think a lot of it is about just like standing up for like what you really need. And obviously, like, you know, we can't always expect that we can just be, it's not about being selfish, right? But I think it is important to be a little selfish in life, especially when it comes to like your mental health and your just life happiness and how you're able to show up for others. Because if you like communicate how you want to show up for people, or how you need to show up for people so they can then like receive your love and your, you know, attention and all of the things, then that's not really selfish. It's really like, it's for them just as much as it is for you.
It is.
And that's what people get wrong
reciprocity.
sometimes. Yeah.
It's reciprocity. We are able to reciprocate what we are given. Human beings often are mirrors of what we're receiving. If you're treating me like crap, I'm going to probably treat you like crap, because I'm frustrated or resentful or something else. And I don't mean that personally as me. I just mean that like, as a human being. When
that's generally how people are.
Yeah. And I think that the biggest thing that we really hit on here is like, good communication matters. No matter what that looks like. Good communication doesn't always feel good. Good communication is clarity. And good communication is really trying to understand what's happening, and not speaking from a point of just trying to get a need met, but trying to understand how that person is going to receive that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's being mindful of your needs and theirs at the same time.
Yeah, because there's a lot of value in just like that. That's how relationships can be deeper and more meaningful too. So many relationships, I think, are way more surface level than people think they are.
And all kinds of, not just friendships. Like,
like marriages that have been, people that have been together like years.
And they know nothing about one another.
Yeah.
Even just, they don't know each other's likes, dislikes. They couldn't even order food for one another if they had to. Yeah. And that blows my mind, because like, you've experienced it. If you tell me something, it's locked in there forever. I will never forget it.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
I'll retain that information because I genuinely care and because I want you to feel cared about.
But you can't have that care without knowing that you feel like safe in the relationship.
Yes.
And you know that like if you ask me for something or you tell me something you need or whatever, that like I'm gonna respect it and do my best to give it to you or tell you why I can't. And that's like people are afraid of not only like displeasing others if they can't give something to them, but they're also just afraid of like looking bad or not being able to be enough. And then so it's like this, we hide parts of ourselves in order to like preserve something in the other person or preserve someone's view of us. And I think that's a big reason why like especially marriages, like people grow apart is because they don't have enough of that communication where they really want to know like all the parts, like even the ugly parts, all of the parts.
It's like having your customer service voice on for your whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I call it the representative. Like that's your representative. Like that's who you should be when you're at work. That's who you should be when you're doing.
It's performative.
Yes,
and people,
but it shouldn't be who you are all the time.
People like start dating someone and they start dating them with like this performance aspect of it. Like, oh, I want them to like me.
And what's crazy is I actually enter into relationships the exact opposite of that. I'm like, here's all this horrible stuff about me. You're probably going to hate me once you get to know me. I promise I'm not great. And then I'm like, if they stick around, and I don't do it in like a push you away way, right? Like I'm not going to like verbally abuse someone or be mean, but I'm going to be like, these are all the things that exist. Like they're very real. Like I can't change them.
You might as well be up front.
Yeah.
Because then you're not wasting your time or their time.
What good does it do me to trick you into liking me? And then later on, I can't maintain that. Yeah. I honestly think that parenting, especially now that the girls are becoming like more cognizant, really taught me those things because I started thinking about like, how do I want my children to present themselves to the world? And how do I want them to understand the world? And how do I want them to feel being themselves? Yeah. And like taking on that role for my kids where I started telling them like, you're allowed to make decisions for you. You don't have to think about everybody else. You don't have to worry about what everybody else wants in the room. You don't have to do it because it makes your grandma happy or your grandpa happy or me happy. Yeah. You get to say so. And like, I really started absorbing it over time because it was so important to me that the girls had that autonomy and like decision-making skills and everything else. And
all that stuff doesn't get taught as like just richly as it needs to be in school.
And it should be taught early, much earlier than we learn it.
Just like everything that's important should be taught early, like as early as possible.
Yep. And I started really teaching them that from like toddlerhood. Like as soon as they could start talking about their bodies, we were going to talk about bodies in ways bodies should be talked about. Like positively, we weren't going to shame anybody, but also like they had a mom that was like the weirdest person they knew. You know what I mean? They never walked past someone and was like, ooh, what is this thing? Because they're like, my mom's got that. You know what I mean? Or like even when it came to like injuries, you know, 30% of my body is 3rd-degree burns. So they never saw someone with like an injury of any kind and were like, oh, why is it? Because they'd been exposed to it. And then when it came to like how they verbalized themselves, they were really able to have that space to be like, no, this is how I feel. Because I told them like, your emotions are important. Even like, I'm not the perfect mom. I lose myself sometimes. I get frustrated. I yell, but I always take a step back and tell them that's not your fault. That's a me problem. That's a thing I'm working on. Yeah. I need to learn to regulate myself better. It's not your job to regulate my emotions. You don't need to take care of me. That's not your job. Because at the end of the day, I brought them into this world, not the other way around. They owe me nothing. They don't owe me love. They don't owe me care. They don't owe me a single thing in this life. I owe them everything. Yeah. And so building that with my children and now seeing it come to fruition when like other people see it, man, it's really like, okay, that is the way that I'm supposed to. Yeah. And like, that is the way that I'm supposed to be doing that. And like, even as an adult, I need to be doing that because how can I expect them to do it if I can't do it? Yeah. You know what I mean? So stepping up and telling people like, no, you're not going to talk to me like that. No, you're not going to treat me like that.
Just taking more responsibility for how you want to live your life. Like setting boundaries with people. Even, I think a lot of people think of boundaries as something like I have to set with like, you know, people I don't like or people
or only
like,
in bad situations
or only authority figures or like things like that. And it's really, or only in bad situations, but it's really like boundaries are the way that we design our lives.
They're the guidelines. They're the playbook. Yeah. we can't run the plays as your friends, your loved ones, your anything, if we don't have a playbook. And that's the playbook that you're giving us. Those are the rules and guidelines for us to be able to show you that we care and that you feel respected and safe and everything else. So I really think that being a mom taught me that. And I don't think I ever thought about that until right this minute. That like I did start exemplifying that more as I was trying to teach like Quinn how to do that. And then now watching Eden, like all of her medical staff are always so impressed with her. They're like, she's so clear about like her body and her wants really and how she feels. And like, she does it with so much confidence. Yeah. Like I remember she had that photo shoot with John a couple weeks ago, and she walked right up to that man's door. He was standing there just waiting for us to come in. She walked right up and she goes, "Do you have goldfish?" Like no hesitation, because I was there. So she's like, "I'm safe. My mom's here. Like whatever need I need is going to get met." And I was like, that's really, she also told a phlebotomist that I would fight them.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And I was like, apparently I got a beef on site with a phlebotomist I've never met. But like seeing that they have so much confidence in me because I've really shown them that like I will do this thing. I will do the uncomfortable things for you so that you learn how to do them has really been eye-opening lately.
Yeah, it's cool. And I feel like there's a sense that's like where you can be proud of yourself as a mom, even though, like you said, like, I know I'm not perfect. I lose some things sometimes. And, you know, you work really hard to try to be there for your kids. You don't have it easy by any means with like your situation. Yeah. And a lot of people who have like just shitty situations at home, they let it just eat them alive, and they let it just consume them, and their life goes to shit, and their kids' life goes to shit, and kids end up on the streets, or they end up in foster care,
or
resentful. Yep. Or, you know, you let something boil up to a point where, you know, you get abusive in some way. And that's just like, if you want to obviously just be happy in your own life and with yourself and grow, but also like have the show up for your kids, like you have to design that. You have to be responsible for it. And it's a huge responsibility. Just like, you know, being a human on your own is a huge responsibility. And like getting what you want out of life, but then doing that for kids as well.
Teaching them how to be people that they're going to be happy with. Because at the end of the day, like I said, they don't owe me anything. They don't have to make me happy with what they do in life. Yeah. But I want them to be happy with themselves. Yeah. Right? Like I didn't grow up with a mom or dad that like gave me the space to have autonomy or make decisions or have opinions or feelings or anything else. You know, if I had a feeling or something, like I was in danger. Yeah. And
you don't want that for them.
Yeah. I really grew up. First of all, I thought I was going to be a terrible mom. Like, I didn't want kids before I had kids because I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, nobody showed me how to.
I don't have a good example
at all. I don't have a good, like, playbook for this. And, you know, so then I had them and I was like, I want to give them all the things that I really wish now as an adult, retrospectively, I wish I would have had. Mm-hmm. Not the things that when I was a kid I thought I wanted. Yeah. Right? But the things that now I grew up and I'm like, I really wish that, like, if I cried, somebody would have just been like, it's okay to cry. Like, maybe let's not like scream and yell, but like you can cry as much as you want. Like that's okay. Yeah. You know, and my kids do that now. They say like, it's okay to cry. Mm-hmm. Or like if something like an accident happens, they're like, it's okay. We don't get in trouble for accidents, Mom. Everybody has accidents. And I'm like,
it's awesome. I trained them to
doing so good. I thought I was doing way worse at this. You know, or like Eden being in the hospital and having empathy for her nursing staff. Like, she would tell me to make them cookies, and then she would be like, you need to eat things. Like, you need to have food. So my mom made cookies. They're over there. Oh. You know, and just seeing that come to life and, like, having compassionate children that are, like, loving to one another and loving to others. And, like, every time getting a report card back and what's on it is, like, they're so kind. They're so compassionate. Mm-hmm. They help their schoolmates. They're, you know, it's, like, that's super fulfilling. And, like, they can only have that if I teach them that.
Yeah. They're not going to learn. You can't. They might learn it from other things, right? But chances are slim.
Like, but also, like, I want to give them that example because I want them to look back and be like, yeah, my mom made some mistakes. Like, she got frustrated. She, you know, she had hard times for sure.
Like, I know she tried really hard and she was really strong.
Yes. Yeah. And I know, without a doubt, my mom loved me and my mom had my back. Mm-hmm. Because I don't care if it's their dad, if it's my parents, I don't care who it is. I have their back, and they know that.
And that's the only thing you have control over.
Yep.
You can't control what their dad does.
Yep.
You can't control what your parents do.
Yep.
Not truly.
Yeah.
And so all you have is yourself and your own actions and how you show up to them. And if you can control that, then like you can make a big impact. So
yeah. And I've really loved that about watching them lately, and them knowing what a hard time we're going through right now, and still being like, I think it's gonna be okay. Like, I think my mom's got it. You know,
Yeah,
she's like, all right, I might have been through some shit, but I guess it's paying off.
And that's the thing here is like, you know, I've seen you go from, you know, anytime. I think in the past, like I've said things to you like, you're so strong, like you got this, like you've gone through worse, you can get through this. And that was something that you used to really not like hearing because of that, what we talked about earlier. It's just like, I'm tired of being resilient. I'm tired of being like just because I know I can, that I should just, you know, keep going. And now I've seen you kind of evolve into like just not fixating on, you know, what that means from your past life and everything that's happened to you. And now you're focused more on like, what can I do to impact going forward?
And a beautiful part of that I think doesn't get acknowledged, not necessarily by me, but in general, is that it's because I now have a support system that doesn't just acknowledge that about me.
Mm-hmm.
I have people that appreciate me for other things. I have people that tell me, you're funny, you're kind, you're loving, you are supportive, like I trust you.
Yeah.
And having those other things is what makes me able to be like, yes, resiliency is a good thing, because it's not the only thing I'm known for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, everything isn't about how tough I am.
Yeah.
Like, I get to not be tough sometimes.
Yeah.
And having that space to not be tough sometimes is where, like, that appreciation for the toughness comes from.
Well, and then it makes you tougher, I think. Like,
it does.
Tough things make us tougher. And then, like, those things that were tough before, like, they're not so tough anymore.
Yep. I've been really teaching Eden lately with all of her, like, treatments and everything. She's scared all the time. She's very nervous. I've been teaching her that, like, bravery is not the absence of fear. It's not the absence of being uncomfortable. It is having those feelings and doing it anyways.
Yeah.
And she's really kind of internalizing now, and all the time she's like, I'm scared, but I'm brave. I'm nervous, and like I don't want to do it, but it's okay. I'm brave. I'm brave, right, Mom?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. Yeah. That is the definition of being brave.
Yeah.
Is that you don't want to do this, but I know you're going to.
Yeah. We don't have anything to be brave about if we don't have anything.
Comfortable.
Yeah, if we're comfortable. Yeah. There's nothing there pushing us to like choose to be brave or choose to be a little bitch. Yep. So yeah, and she ain't no bitch.
No. I thought I was tough. Then I met those little girls and I was like,
damn.
I gave y'all that on steroids somehow. Yeah. They're fearless in a way that I have never been.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like the lack of having things to be fearful of other than like unexpected things, because like my fear was always based in things like I kind of expected to happen and knew would happen regularly. So I was always very like wound up and tight about it. But because they have that confidence, like, nah, whatever this other stuff is, my mom's got that. I don't need to worry about that. This is the part I have to worry about. They get to be absolutely like courageous in things.
And I think that's allowed you to kind of like let go of some of the tension too. I think a lot of things have let you do that or empowered you to do that. But like I've seen a big shift in you over the course of really since you started, like, you know, your health really turned around and it had been like kind of managed for a while. And then like throughout this year, you've been like growing more and like enjoying the gym. And, you know, you've picked up some sponsorships and some like beliefs in your, like people believing in you, but you believing in yourself more.
Yeah.
And just like being who you are unapologetically. And that's allowed you to let go of some tension that I think was holding you more tightly wound.
Yeah, I never had like people who were proud of me or believed in me or like thought I could do things. I always had the people that were like, no, you can't. Yeah. No, you won't. No, you won't. And I don't want to say I ever internalized like I can't do this thing, because I've always known that
there's always something to prove.
Yeah, I've always been the belligerent person that's like, well, I'm gonna fucking do it anyways. But it was always like almost out of spite.
Yeah.
And now it's because now it's just because like I want to do this thing, so I'm going to keep working towards it. Like right now I don't have to be in the gym, but I'm like I still have this goal. I still want to do this thing, and you know, when all of this is over, like
You want to know that you showed up for
Yes.
yourself too.
And not only that, but like teaching Eden right now, like
we don't give up.
Yeah, we still have to do tough things, even though like it's hard and we're tired, and I can't expect her to show resiliency
if you don't.
If I don't. If I just like drop everything and stop doing everything that she's used to me doing, and I don't have structure or discipline or anything else, like I can't expect her to have it. I can't expect her to want to get up in the morning and do the things that she has to do that suck. So like I'm just gonna do the things that suck. But I'm gonna do them because they feed into something that I want at some point.
They build up
and
strength.
Not because somebody told me that I couldn't, not because something else, but because I know that there are people that believe in me that want to see me win for good reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People who wake up and, we have a conversation, they're just like, just so you know, like every day that you keep doing this, I'm really fucking proud of you. And I'm like, thank you. I needed that today. I didn't know I needed it, but I did. And now I have that little extra piece, know, and community makes all of the difference. And I didn't know that for a long time because I never had it. Yeah.
You felt like I just got to do all of this on my own. And
like I gotta do this because life sucks. Not because
not because I want to.
Not because I love these things and I want to work towards this thing, but like life sucks, so I might as well do all these sucky things anyways.
I'm happy for you. I am proud of you.
Thank you.
So with Eden's treatment, I know there's a lot of costs, and so I have posted this on my own channel on Instagram, but a big part of putting this podcast out here too was to just continue to draw more attention to the Fight for Eden campaign. And so we do have a GoFundMe set up for Eden's costs. Is it still an option to send money directly to?
Yeah, so she just has a link tree that has all options available. Okay. So in it, there's Venmo, there's Cash App, there's the GoFundMe, there's also I think the adjoined email is on there. There's also she has her own page on Instagram that you can follow.
Fight for Eden.
Just because you want to follow along and watch her be the little trooper she is. There's information in some of those posts as well that make it a little bit easier to find anything that you want to find as far as her. But
cool. Well, I will put that link tree in the show notes for this podcast, and then so if anyone is willing and comfortable giving any size donation, please do give it. Eden is just the most deserving, beautiful little girl, and we want her to be okay because she's being so brave. And
she is.
So this is launching Monday the 7th or 8th, something like that. But I will have some merch on my site. It's going to be a t-shirt that I'm putting together, like a kind of supporting, and if people want some merch for my season as it gets started, but all of the proceeds, the profit from it, are going to the Fight for Eden campaign instead of to me. Because
so you get to support multiple causes.
Exactly.
You get to support Rachel and Eden in one go.
So and that's just going to be focused around resilience and bravery. So doing the hard things because they're hard and they make us better. But thank you for being on. I love you. I'm excited
I love you
to see her continue to grow and heal too.
Me too.
She will.